Game Network. This is James. I'm going to be explaining to you today how to play this game called Thieves Market, and it's put out by TMG, Tasty Minstrel Games. Plays 14 years and up in about half hour to 50 minutes, maybe about an hour. 3 to 5 players, and this is a card game, so it looks like just one of those 15 to 20 minute games, a filler game, but I have to tell you that it's more of a full game. It does take some time to play, so it's deeper than just your light-hearted 15 to 20 minute game. And they've got this great reference card right here, and it tells you virtually everything you need to know about the game and reminds you how to play. Here we give each player a gold to start with. You set up the loot dice, which are these dice here. For 3 players, you're going to have 10 dice. For 4, 11. For 5, 13. So I've got 11 here for 4 players. You set up the market cards. You have 13 from the A deck, so you're taking out a few cards. The B, and you're going to shuffle those, flip 5 face up. You are going to have 12 in the B deck, and so you're going to remove several from the B deck, so you just shuffle those and randomly remove some. The C deck you shuffle and remove a few and leave 11. It tells you right there. And then here's your round sequence. You've got phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 is splitting the loot. So you guys are all thieves. You guys have some loot at the end of the day and you're splitting it up. So here's all your loot, and you are going to take from the center or steal from another player. So what the first player does, and the first player is the player who last stole something. So, you know, maybe you guys play, I know you guys don't steal, so maybe you played this game before, and so the last person that stole something played this game or something. And you just have a pile of these, essentially they're victory point, purple tokens and gold tokens. The first player is going to roll the dice, and that's all the loot. And so and here's a first player marker. So that is one of the objects out in here. So when you take dice, or you can take the first player token, you can take as much as you want. So the first player could go, I want all of these. And then the second player goes. And the second player, he can have the choice of taking whatever's left in the middle, or any part of what's left in the middle, or he can take from somebody else who has previously taken. So he could say from the first player, I want what you had, I want what you took, but he has to take one of the objects and put it back in the middle. If it's a die, then you re-roll the die to go back in the middle, and then he keeps the rest. Or if it's the first player token, he just puts that in the middle. And he's required to put at least one thing back in the middle. And so then the next player goes, and we're just doing this in clockwise order. And so that person looks to see what the other people have taken, or what's left in the middle, and chooses. And if you're the last person to not have anything and you take from the middle, you have to take everything in the middle. But again, if you're taking from somebody else, then you take all of what they have and you put at least one thing back in the middle, and if it's a die or multiple dice, then you re-roll that. And so this can go around for a few rounds until everybody has something in front of them. And once some of you have some dice and some of you don't have dice, you're just going to skip over people that have dice because they're not going to get to choose again. And you go to whoever the next person that does not have something, and then he gets to choose. And then so you go around until everybody has some stuff in front of them, some dice or the first player token. And that's the end of phase 1. Phase 2 is making purchases. So you buy a card, and you can only buy one card, and these are the cards that are available, these 5 cards here. And you always have 5 cards here, so you don't know how, it doesn't matter how many players you have, you've got 5 cards. And this is the cost here on the left for these cards. So this one costs 2 white gems or 2 diamonds, 2 green, 2 white, 2 green, and 2 blue. And these dice have 4 different gems on them. They have the white, the blue, the green, and the red. And then they have a gold bag, and they have a victory point, a purple mask on there. And so you can, once you've kept your dice, whoever got the first player token, they are going to get the chance to purchase first. So they're going to go through their dice and look at them, and he's going to say, well, you know, I've got a diamond, so I could buy this. Or I do not have 2 greens, I do not have 2 blues, I do have 2 whites. So if you look down here, this is what the card can do for you. And these cards, normally they just stay out, so every turn they affect you. This one says, once per turn, if you have a white gem, you can turn it to a gold bag. So you actually turn the die, but you can only do that one time per turn, so it doesn't matter how many white gems you have, you can only turn one of them. This one will let you turn a green gem into a gold bag. This one would let you, at the end of phase 1, the splitting the loot, if you have a white gem, you can buy an extra card. So instead of buying 1 card, you can buy 2. Only if you have a white gem in your pile of dice at the end of phase 1. This one lets you convert a green to any other color gem, and that's once per turn, once per round. And this one does the same thing with blue. So let's say I'm going to buy this one. You just put that in front of you, you remove the die, and the next person goes, and the next person goes until everybody has had a chance to purchase out here. So some of these are going to disappear because some people are going to have them. And then at the end of the round, you'll notice here it says, anybody who has these purple ones, they turn the purple ones in for the purple tokens. And these are essentially victory points at the end of the game. That is what you want at the end of the game, as whoever has the most of these is the winner. They're called infamy. And whoever has gold bags on their dice, they get gold tokens to replace the gold dice. And then all of your dice are put back in, and whoever had that first player token, he rolls the dice for the next round. And every round you fill this back up to 5 at the end of the round. Now here's what these say. This one says you can turn in a red gem for gold. This one says you can convert a red gem to a different color gem. This one is simply, if you have a castle, each of these has some kind of icon in the upper left. So some of these reference this icon. This one references and says if you have 1 of them, it's worth 1 point. If you have 2, or if you have more than 2, then it's worth 2 points at the end of the game. So that one wouldn't really affect your game. It's just points at the end of the game. And then those we already saw. And you'll notice at the end of the game, whoever has the most of the people icon, this one here, gets 3 victory points, and whoever has the second most gets 1. Whoever has the most gold gets 3. But gold is not worth anything at the end, so it's just the purple tokens. And so once again, you've re-rolled those. You're back in phase 1. You're splitting the loot, and whoever the first player is, he gets to pick first. And so he can pick, and he can choose to pick the first player token again or not. And then the next player, and so it goes around. And so what happens is eventually the A deck runs out. So you may have, let's say you have one card back in your deck. You've got 2 here. You flip up this one and you didn't have enough cards to fill the A row. So what you do is you go to the B row and you put 5 cards face up. So not only is there 5 in the B deck, you still have the A deck you can purchase from. If these disappear, you do not replace them. You only replace cards on the B row at this point. And once the B deck runs out, you do exactly the same thing and you end up having some cards on the C row, and so you flip up 5. And the game ends at the end of the round in which you didn't have enough cards to put 5 cards out for the C deck. Now let's see, let's look at some of these cards. And you do have on the back of your rule sheet an English reference for all of these cards. All you gotta do is look up the card name, and it's in alphabetical order, and it'll tell you what these cards do. So this one, Legitimate Jeweler, you could just turn here and go, well, once per round you may turn a yellow bag dice from your pile into the white, blue, green, or red side. So if you have that one and you have a yellow bag of gold, you can choose once per turn to flip that to one of the gems. Now, what do you use gold for? Gold is actually a generic for kind of a wild card for any of the gems. But when you have a yellow bag, remember it's at the end of the round that you get gold for it. So this would allow you to convert it immediately instead of converting it to a gold token and then on the following round using it for something else. So in other words, if I had a red and I had a white gem, but I did not have a second red for this one, I could spend gold for one of the missing ones and then buy that. So the anthropomorphic water buffalo, you'll also notice on the back of your reference card that these icons down here are referenced to give you a short, brief summary of what each of the icons does. Let me look up the anthropomorphic water buffalo. Whenever you purchase any card with a red gem in its cost, including this one, you gain an infamy token. So you get a victory point every time you're going to buy a red card if you have this card. This one says, if anybody steals from you, so steals your dice, steals from you, the die that gets put back in the middle does not get re-rolled. It just gets put back with the face that you had it at. And on the splitting the loot, at the end of splitting the loot, you can re-roll one of your die. This one here says that after splitting the loot, if you have the first player token, you are going to gain a victory point or an infamy token every turn that you have that. So there's really a wide range of cards in here. This one says when you purchase this card, this is called the unlabeled potion. When you buy this card, immediately discard it to gain the next card in the deck. So you don't know what the next card is. If you buy that one, you flip up the next one and that's the one you get. So it's kind of an unknown. This one says you spend one of your purple dice to get a gold. And you do notice that these become more expensive as you go into the B and C deck. Exit strategy, you can actually spend gold coins to get infamy tokens. 1 gold equals 2 infamy tokens. When you buy, this is called insurance racket, when you buy a card, it costs 1 less die than what is posted on the card. This says for every 2 of this symbol card that you have, you get 3 victory points, 3 at the end. So at the end of the game, once you've run out of the C deck, you are just simply going to add up all of these kinds of cards that give you a value at the end. You're going to add up your purple infamy tokens. You are going to add up who has the most of the people icon here will get 3. Second most is 1. Who has the most gold will get 3. And then whoever has the most infamy at the end of that game is the winner. So that's how you play Thieves Market. And this is a good game, a good solid game. And it's more than just a filler game. You really will get into it and have a fun time fighting for these dice, for the loot. So make sure you tune into all of our videos here at the Board Game Network, and be sure and leave comments down below if you've played this game and what you think of it.